Hey, what is up guys? Kalem or KalemsFishtanks. Last week I told you guys to keep an eye out for this video because today the tarp is coming off. So we're actually talking about this tarp here. This tank I have been dark starting for about 3 months now. So what is a dark start? Dark start is basically where you add in the aqua soil as well as the filter and cover up the tank so no light gets in. Basically what this does is cycles your tank and allows for excess ammonia to be removed from the aqua soil. So when you add your plants, there isn't a ton of nitrates, ammonia, and all that bad stuff that can cause melt and all kinds of issues. In this tank, I'm dealing with some pretty sensitive species. As you can probably tell by the thumbnail, they're going to be mostly purple and pink, and I don't want to lose these plants because they are pretty expensive. Now usually when you're doing a dark start, you don't have to do it for 3 months like I did. I was just waiting for my lights and my CO2 setup. I had the filter and I had the soil, so I decided to start doing the dark start around December. Yeah, now that I have everything in, it's ready to go. Usually when you're doing a dark start, it's just till the tank cycles till you start to notice your spike in nitrates, and then when the nitrates start to lower, you're basically ready to finish your dark start and start adding your plants and fish and all that stuff. Now a little bit about the equipment we're going to be using. Currently I have the CO2 already set up. I'm using a CO2 Art inline diffuser. This is my first time testing inline diffusion and I'm pretty impressed by it. There's bubbles all over the tank. I'm pumping in way too much at the moment, but I'm trying to get it calibrated down to the proper level. And then for light, I am going to be using the Chihiros RGB Vivid Mini. Now this may be overkill. The tank is only a 30 centimeter cube, but I'm going to limit test my abilities a little bit and see if I can get the colors to really pop on these plants. I think it probably would have been doable with a WRGB 30 centimeter. That would have been probably more than enough for this little tank. But this is all they had at Aquarium CO2, who I want to thank so much for helping me get this equipment for this tank. There's going to be a link to their website down below for any Chihiros or CO2 Art products, and you can use code KALEM for 5% off any of that, and it helps my channel as well. But yeah, I went with the RGB Vivid Mini. This will give me the ability to upgrade the tank to a bigger size later on if I decide it's too small and I run out of room. But for now, we're going to be testing this out and seeing if I can make it work on a small tank. Now I'm not going to be showing the setup to this. I've already set one of these up on my channel before, so I'm going to put a link in this corner, I think, if you guys want to go check that out. But I'm just going to get this set up now. It is with the light on. You can kind of see the light is a little bit bigger than the tank, but that's okay. A little bit extra light never hurt, hopefully. But in here I have these two little glass pots. This one was going to be for a very rare plant that unfortunately died for me before I could get this tank set up. That is super unfortunate, but what was supposed to go in there was Hygrophila chai. I was going to grow it out in that little cup and then be able to spread it out throughout the tank. And then this one over here I'm going to use for feeding shrimp. You can see this tank is very purple compared to this one over here, and that's because I want to give the plants the right color spectrum so they can get the most purple and pink colors possible. Plants will reflect the color of light they are given, so for example if you have a higher red spectrum in your lights, your plants are going to get more red. This one I've got a higher amount of blue and a higher amount of red, giving a kind of purplish light spectrum that will hopefully allow me to get some nice purple and pink plants. Now like the thumbnail and title says, the goal here is to create a purple and pink aquascape, but this isn't easy and there's a couple of challenges you meet when trying to create a purple and pink only aquascape. The first one is there isn't many purple or pink plants and it's hard to find them here in Canada. Most of them are rare species, and on top of that they're all very expensive usually. Unfortunately I don't have a huge budget, you know, I'm doing this for fun as a hobby, so I couldn't buy a ton of these plants to start with, but I did grab a couple. Only have about 4 plants right now, so this is going to take a lot of patience from me, and hopefully you'll be patient and trust the process for this experiment or tank as well. So since we only have 4 plants, I'm gonna need some sort of plant mass to soak up all of those extra nutrients, so my tank actually has a chance against algae. Now the plants I'm planning to use, I don't want something that can compete with the species we're gonna have in here, so I need something that doesn't block out a lot of light. Currently we have 4 different species of rare bucephalandra. All these species can get nice dark purples and pink colors under intensive light. And then I also may get some cryptocorn flamingo. I'll have to go check on how my little colony is doing in my 24 gallon and see if I can move some into here. Eventually I'd like to fill up the whole background with crypt flamingo and then have all these different purple and pink bucephalandras in the foreground and eventually on hardscape. I don't have the hardscape yet. Because we only have 4, maybe 5 plants, I need to put in something that will help me compete against any algae I may run into. Like I mentioned, these plants need a lot of light, so if I don't have anything taking up all the extra nutrients, and these are very slow growers as well, they won't use a lot, I'm gonna get a lot of algae. So I'm going to go trim up some dwarf baby tears from my 24 gallon downstairs, and then I'm going to have a lot of fun planting the tiny trimmings in this tank to hopefully carpet most of it, so this will act as like a nutrient sponge and hopefully give this bucephalandra a chance to get growing. And then later on I will remove this and keep this, you know, bucephalandra purple and pink plants only. So it took me about an hour to plant the dwarf baby tears. Next time I'm definitely going to buy a tissue culture. That was not worth it. The permanent back problems and the time I'm never going to get back. It's worth spending the 15 bucks next time. So now let's take a look at the tank. So in all honesty, this tank isn't much right now. The whole goal of this setup is just to grow out some beautiful bucephalandra. Right now it's not showing the greatest colors. It's still beautiful. You can see some purples and some blues, but it wasn't doing the best in my old scape. Like I mentioned, I have 4 different species of buce in here. You can see some of the name tags. This one right here is Bucephalandra Helena 2012. This one right here is Bucephalandra Helena 2013. Then we have Bucephalandra Elephant Neo. This one has a really nice purple right now, but this one gets a bright, fiery pink, hot pink color, super pretty, and that's why I have that one in the middle. So I hope that grows out well and gets that color again. And then we have 2 little pieces of purple phantom. I've got them separated. I split one, and eventually I'd like to have this whole thing carpeted with buce. In the back there, I also have Anubias minima variegated. The leaves are pretty much all white with the stems being green. And then you may be able to see it behind the name tag. That is a little stem of cryptocorn flamingo. I may move some more in here, but I want to see how this one reacts first, see how much melting I get, and if it will even bounce back from the melting before I add more. So you can see the little carpet I planted. It's planted more densely away from the bucephalandra, and it doesn't really take up the whole tank. Eventually I may plant some more, but I'm definitely going to go buy a tissue culture if I decide to do that. Like I mentioned, it's not worth planting stems of this stuff. It's just way too hard. This is our starting point. You know, it's not any fancy aquascape. It's just going to be for really growing out these buce. It's a new tank, so I want to keep things as stable as possible and hopefully have a lot of success with this stuff because these are expensive plants. I think everything in here is close to $300 worth of plants, so I really don't want anything dying, and I'm pretty nervous about how things are going to go, especially because this is a fresh tank. So I'm going to be giving you guys frequent updates, even if things go really wrong in this tank. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was KalemsFishtanks. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.